Good morning, everyone, and a very happy first day of spring to those who celebrate Navroz Mubarak, and a very, very lovely Sunday. It's so bright and beautiful outside, and the sun has welcomed itself inside my home. And it looks very bright and beautiful this morning. We are waiting for our lovely guest, Tara. There seems to be some kind of a glitch, and I think we've been playing tag at the back end of StreamYard, and I'm still waiting to find Tara. She is a treasure that we need to find, and so it's taking a little bit of time to have her on. Um, we'll give her a little bit of time to hop on. Until then, I'd like to share a little bit about Tara. Tara is the author of this beautiful book called Visible and Empowered. And, uh, and she is a lovely friend. Um, she is a huge advocate for people with chronic illness or disability. She has a live. She had her own life is her own lived experience. So whatever she works on is her own lived experience, and she knows firsthand how frustrating and limiting and difficult life is a lot of the time. More, she is here. I would love for her to speak for herself.
Hello.
Hi, Tara. Good morning and welcome. We are live, and I was just sharing a little bit about you to
Oh, good.
our lovely listeners. So I just was telling them I wish them a happy first day of spring. So a very happy first day of spring to you as well.
And you
Uh,
too. Beautiful outside.
it is, and the sun is welcoming itself inside my house. So I really love that. And yes, and I was just telling them how you're a master social worker and you've dedicated your life to helping break down barriers, whether they be structural, instructional, or ideological. And I was showing them the cover of your beautiful book, The Sun is Shining on It, and it's called Visible and Empowered. And I have read your book, and there are some things that really touched my heart. I am going to address them, but before that, I would really love to hear you tell us who you are and what is it that you do. And we have Fasana saying, "Hey, ladies," and she says, "You
I just
both
want
look wonderful." Yes, so
okay,
Tara,
so
would you please?
I to tell you a little bit about me goes way back. I was born with several disabilities, and when I was born, the doctors gave me no hope to live, survive, and told my parents that I would never walk, never talk, never thrive, would never go to school, would never work. They, it was never, 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 never. And I, they told them to put me into an institution and just forget about me. That didn't happen because my mom always wanted a little baby. And so I was her pride and joy. And I I went to a nursery school for kids with disabilities, and from there I was mainstreamed into regular school, and I had trouble from day one with the structures of the schools, and I was the only kid with disabilities in my school all the way up until probably university. And it was bullying. It was teasing, torture of various types, and it was just terrible treatment from both the kids and the administration and the teachers. So that was my early years. And then I got into high school and I finally got a group of friends. See, when I was growing up, this is my story is not unique in the to the stories of other people with disabilities. Kids with disabilities live very lonely lives. Many kids with disabilities don't have friends, can't make friends very easily, and live very isolated lives. And it's
Mhm.
not until much later in life that they learn how to make friends and grow to uh, form a very small friend group, a very small and intimate friend group. And I'm lucky enough to have that very small, intimate friend group to this day that I talk to every Sunday on Zoom weekly to this day. And they are my best friends. So we've been together for now 20 years. And um, with their support, um, uh, my friends from high school and my friends from university, I grew into a strong person, um, and now I was sort of thriving. I was still struggling academically, but I was still striving and thriving to the point that I wanted to go to university. But because I was deemed special needs, it was determined by the counselors in my school that I shouldn't go to university. I applied to universities anyways because that's what everybody in my school did.
Right.
And I come to find out that my university applications were shredded. I'm going to pause right there just to let that sink in. They were
Yes.
shredded behind my back. All of my university applications were shredded, and I was not informed. Now,
Wow.
the current me would have had that person prosecuted to the highest extent of the law. The me back then simply reapplied and got into university. So
Mm.
it was I I didn't even bother with her, and it was just a simple case of I wanted to get into university, so I reapplied. And then I got into university, and then I started doing some advocacy work around disabilities and got very heavily involved in disability rights. And I wanted to find some way of helping people with disabilities. I still didn't know what that looked like. And
Mhm.
it's taken me a long road to find that career path. I found that career path through social work.
Right.
And so I became a social worker. Social work has always been my thing. And except that social work takes many, many different forms. And I've had to pivot again in light of a brain injury that I sustained 10 years, no, 12 years ago. 12 years ago. Yeah, 12 years ago. And it um, really hindered my opportunities in the traditional workforce. And So I could no longer hold down a traditional job. And so for the last 9 years, I've been trying to do the entrepreneurial thing and really, really struggling. And now I'm starting a new venture, a new entrepreneurial venture of helping going back to my roots and helping kids with disabilities um, and their families address bullying because that's
Right,
what's closest to my heart right now.
right.
So
Wow.
that's my story
So,
full circle.
well, that's a very powerful story, and thank you for sharing that. Um, we talk about be the change, be the change, be the change. You're certainly embodying change, when you're sharing your story, when you're sharing your voice, when you're standing up not just for yourself, but for all those people who would be quiet and keep reapplying for the university education because their application was shredded and they don't know any better. So,
Hmm.
thank you. Thank you for being generous with your power and offering it to the world. I mean, there are many of us who don't even know that things like this happen. You know, and personally, growing up,
Needs to be spread.
absolutely, absolutely. For some reason,
Hmm.
I think the internet is. I mean, you're breaking up, and your video is freezing. Yes. So yes,
Oh,
as I was saying, and personally, can you hear me now?
oh yeah.
Yes. So personally, I grew up in a family where I had two aunts that I wouldn't call them disabled, but very, very abled, just differently abled. And I had an uncle, and they were far more productive and a huge contribution to the family than perhaps some of us that have all the physical ability to do but choose not to. So that makes me really think about how do we define ability? How do we define someone who is able?
Mm.
Is it just the physical attributes, or what you do with yourself and how productive you are and the actions that you take and the contribution that you make in your own lives and in the lives of others around you? So you know when I look at it, when I give it that spin, then I wonder and I question, that there are so many people walking around on this planet that that have physically healthy bodies, but their mindset and the how they're leading their lives makes me question what ability really means. And we were having a conversation the other day,
Oh
and I was
yeah.
sharing
I
with
think
you.
everything.
Yes, yes, Tara, go ahead. Are you there?
I think everything stems from mindset. Everything stems from. Yes, I'm still here. Can you
Yes,
hear me?
now I can see. Yes, you were frozen, so I didn't know.
Okay. Okay. I think okay. Everything stems from mindset and what you believe yourself to be capable of and what you believe society around you believe you are capable of and what your role is in society. And it it's not it's not factual, it's mindset.
Right.
None of this is factual. It's not, there's there are rules and laws and things written down. They're all based on somebody's beliefs. They are all based on somebody's mindset. And we
Absolutely.
all have the power to set our own mind to what we are capable of and what we can and can't accomplish.
Absolutely.
And somebody's physical, real physical limitations or real intellectual limitations might actually determine what that looks like, but it might just frame what that looks like. It doesn't necessarily limit what that looks like.
Absolutely.
That's what I
Absolutely.
love. I hate thinking in terms of actions. It might just color or or frame what that looks like in terms of how you go about doing it, how long it takes, how how much support you need, where you go about looking for support, how you go doing something.
Right. Yes, I agree. And I'm
Mhm.
like thinking of Stephen Hawking and his contribution to the world, right? Are you there?
Absolutely. He hadn't work, but yep, he had a body that didn't work, but he had a brilliant mind and he had a support system in place that knew the technology that he needed and was able to manufacture and install and, when necessary, repair and replace the technology that he needed to take what was in his head and
Mm,
create his voice so that he could
right.
provide the world with his brilliance.
Absolutely. That's true. And, I'm also thinking about, when I was a kid, I used to just love watching Superman movies, and Christopher Reeves was like, I wish I could grow up and marry him. I mean, he was so good looking and he made such a great Superman. And to see him on see him on a wheelchair, I could never take that cape and the superness out of him. I couldn't just, I couldn't think that he he was anything less. It's so I personally feel that for
He
those
became
people,
more Superman to me, the
yes,
accent, than he ever
the
was
real,
on film.
the real super, absolutely, he became the real Superman. And you know, uh, from what I had experienced so
Because he
closely,
went a film star.
yes, your internet is really glitching because you're breaking up. Are you on your phone
You were
or your
saying,
computer? Hello,
yes, I
Kara?
am.
Are you on your
I'm on my
phone?
phone.
Uh-huh. It's okay. Because when
Yes.
the Wi-Fi glitches, I just go on data. I'm not sure what your phone plan looks like, but it's glitching a lot, so we're missing out
This on the
on.
computer. Oh, so
I can't hear anything of what you're saying. Do you want to hop back on, or there's you frozen? I can't hear anything. Yes.
do you want to do this? Do you want me to hop off?
Yeah, I think
and
it's
hop
better
back
now.
on my computer.
No, this is better now. You you think this? I mean, did you freeze again? I think you froze again. I think it's better if you hop on your computer then.
Okay, okay,
Sure.
okay.
I'll continue. I'll have a conversation. We were talking about Superman.
Okay.
And
I'll be back in a minute.
yes, absolutely. Thank you. Yes. And uh, particularly, I've had my own personal experiences, with my aunt and with two of my aunts and my uncle, as I was talking about. Um, you know,
Who's Jesus?
there was so much um, love, and there was so much that I learned. Hi, Agnes. Thank you for saying I should reconnect. Yes, Tara is hopping on. Yes, so there was so much that I learned from them and the skills and the talent that they had. It was unbelievable. And oh my God, I have calls coming. I have like tons of things happening at the same time. So it is very interesting to go through her book and some of the tips. She gives top tips to Tara gives top tips to people that would make such a whole lot of difference. Um, Particularly, there are some that really stand out, and one of them was um, that as a person that is differently abled or living with disability, insist that you are identified by others as you see yourself. There's gold in there. So I'm going to read this again. Insist that you are identified by others as you see yourself. And this goes for every human, not just for people with disability. And so before someone else identifies you, it's very important to take a peek into how we identify ourselves. How do we look at ourselves? What do we think of ourselves? And what's the narrative? What's the inner dialogue? And is it something that is disempowering? Is it something that is cruel or harsh? Or is it something that is encouraging? So I remember my own personal narrative when I had facial paralysis, and I didn't look the way I always looked. And before I had facial paralysis, I used to feel very proud of myself. I felt good that I looked pretty, and um, you know I was. I didn't have a negative narrative inside my head. But after I had paralysis, I was very, very harsh with myself. And when I looked in the mirror, I just used to think, hey, that's not me. I was totally like not wanting to accept what I looked like. And I called myself ugly. I called myself, I was like mean to myself. And I didn't want to take pictures. Even if I took pictures, forget about selfies. I never wanted to take selfies. I would get upset at friends who took my pictures and posted them. And at places where I really, my face looked distorted. And I would actually reach out to them and say, hey, I don't really like that picture. Can you please take it down? And, I would totally not accept uh, what I looked like and how I looked like, and the idea, what are people going to think? And I didn't want people to think that I was ugly. And it is very heartbreaking. It's suffering uh, that I put myself through. And then it was a friend of mine. His name is Mike Shorman, and I heard him share his story of facial palsy on stage. And who he has been ever since. And like he totally owns his crooked smile, his distorted smile. And he's so bold and so powerful. And in owning however he looks like, that I saw how he turned that around uh, for himself, and also for others who have some facial paralysis or facial palsy that makes that gives some kind of a distortion. So that shifted everything for me, and I was like, wow, this the appreciation and love that he has, uh, it has nothing to do with how he looks. It has to do with who he is being and how he shows up in the world and the contribution that he makes. So that really gave me clarity. And I said, okay, I'm going to own my distortion and I'm going to own my facial paralysis. And well, there have been occasions when people will remind you, and all with good intentions, they will remind you and say, hey, you know, you were not really looking good. And these are people who've known you before the paralysis and who appreciated what you look like. And they really care for you. They want you to look beautiful. And they'll be like, take that off. Or why were you looking like this? And regardless of that, like at first I would be triggered, or I would take that in and feel, oh, I surely was looking ugly, or I don't look the same again. But then, I sometimes I would be triggered that why can't they see beyond that? Why can't they see what I'm doing, who I'm being? Why can't they see beyond my face? And eventually, I had a moment of discovery where I said, this is why they are seeing me the way they are seeing me. It's because of the way I'm seeing myself. And that shifted everything for me. And going forward, I decided it's not important, that I should always be so critical and so, so hard on myself when I'm going in front of a camera. What is important is the message that I have to share and the difference it will make in people's lives. I'm not quite sure if Tara is able to hop on, but there's a very beautiful uh, chapter in her book that's called My Nudity Reminds Me That I Am Different. And I really wanted to read this while she was on. I'm hoping that she will hop on soon. And I'm going to read this to you. And, that shows the power of the power in vulnerability, how she's been vulnerable in this chapter and she's expressed what she feels. I'm going to read this. She says, there have been moments where I have looked in the mirror and lamented the broken body that looks back at me. And I can totally relate to that. That's how I would uh, look at myself when I had facial palsy, and it was so new and fresh and so shocking for me. And my disability, she says, my disability belly protrudes forward while my underdeveloped legs lead to my twisted toes that curl in on themselves. Then there is the gigantic scar from my spinal fusion surgery that goes from my shoulder blades to my bum. Each of these markers have, at times, served as reminders of everything I can never be, no matter how hard I try. Okay, we could sit and wallow in this, but let's rewind a minute and explore that deliciously disabled body once more. And then she goes on to write, imagine that you were lying next to me, tracing my body with your fingertips. It's a great visual. So go ahead, take a minute. Here is what you would find. If you traced from my shoulder blades down my spine, instead of seeing the scars of a surgery long past, you would twist and turn down every curve of my body, the line acting like a roadmap to the treasure trove that is my seldom seen behind, which I have heard is fantastic. Move along across the skin to my disability belly, which acts as the keeper of my emotions. I'm getting goosebumps while I read this. It is there that I have kept every feeling for everyone I have ever liked. Then you will reach my legs. Once you put your hands on them, they open, spastically inviting you in. My feet are curled and my toes twisted, but that only adds to my originality. This, and you can say that you really did make my toes curl. My body is indeed a wonderland full of detours and diversions that everyone should dive into. Isn't that powerful? What if all of us could be so loving and so kind to ourselves first? There she is.
Thank you so much for your patience. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Welcome back. I was just reading a chapter from your book.
Was it a good chapter?
Yes, I was reading the chapter from your book on that is so heartfelt and so raw. My nudity reminds me that I am different, and I feel like everybody should read your book. You know, like it made me present to how horribly unkind I have been to myself.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. I mean, that's that was one of the wonderful things that came through writing this book. I was able to come and meet some wonderful contributors who graciously gave me access to their stories that they had
right,
written, and they contributed their stories to my book. And the one that you read, he's just an amazing man. He's just Andrew, he's just phenomenal. I can't say enough good things about him.
right,
He's he's so in touch with who he is. He's so in touch with what makes him glow, what makes him tick, and he's not ashamed of who he is or what he brings to the table or what makes him glow. And that's who I think of when I think of disability pride. And that's
right,
what I want everybody to experience. And we, as individuals, we go through periods of self-doubt, each and every one of us. It's human nature
right,
to go through periods of self-doubt and feeling lesser. And we grow into transitions where we gain more self-confidence, gain more pride in ourselves, gain more self-acceptance. And that's through nurturing, that's through challenging ourselves, putting ourselves in difficult situations and accomplishing them, and listening to other people who are just like us who we admire, like Michael J. Fox, or like oh, Stephen Hawking, or any of the people that we've been talking about,
Right.
who have overcome these challenges, or who have lived lives that we admire,
Right.
and are spreading their wisdom of what that has given them in terms of their life experience. Because it's not about the hardships, it's about the lessons.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'd like you to, you've written a little bit about self-pride and false pride.
Yes.
Like when you're talking about disability pride, like I'm present to that. So tell us like how to distinguish between the two, self-pride and false pride.
Okay. So when you are developing genuine pride in yourself, what I've observed is a lot of people go through a period of almost false independence, where it's like, it's a situation of, no, I can do it on my own.
Right.
No, you can't tell me what to do. I know, I know, I know. And that's the false pride, where nobody can tell you anything. You might be 12, but you know it all. You might
Right.
be like 9, 10, 12, but you've lived enough years, you just know everything. And that's because you are starting to come into your own, and you just want your own space. You just
Right.
want your own independence. You just want to live on your own terms. And that's the pushback. And people come off a little too strong in that period. And that period might be in your youth, like I said, 10, 9, 10, 12, whatever. It might be in your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, depending on where you are in life. So uh it's about this notion that I know what I'm doing. You can't tell me anything. Um, and I don't need any help. I don't
Right.
need you to do anything for me. And genuine pride in self has a lot to do with ownership of
Right.
who you are, and being accepting of help when it serves you. So that's the person who is able to say, I need to be out of the house in half an hour. I need
Right.
help to get dressed. I know who will be able to help me the best, the
Right.
fastest, and who I feel safest with. So I go to that person. Okay? But I'm going to let that person help me right now, because I'm on a deadline, and I have somewhere to be, something to do, and I'm going to let that person in. And
Right.
you know, it you let down your guard, you let people in, or and you you don't hold things in just for the sake of holding things in. You have pride in yourself, and to the extent that you are willing to address the issues as they come up,
Right.
and face them head on, not bury your head in the sand because you've got too much pride to address them or to talk about them or to say anything to anybody.
Absolutely. I agree. I can relate to that. I mean, I had aunts and uncles who would be like, "Hey, can you scratch my back?" Or, you know, "I'm thirsty. Give me a glass of water." And it was like I grew up as if it's like anybody else. I mean, I don't have to have some kind of a disability to ask someone to scratch my back. What's wrong with that? Like, what's wrong with asking? So I feel like, not being able to ask is actually a kind of, you know, we are crippling our minds, from being productive and from extending our ability to be people with integrity as in being like, making things workable, not talking about morality, but making things workable and productive, passing it,
Yeah.
and that's really nice. That's powerful. Thank you for sharing that. I'd like you to share with us what made you take a stand. What made you create the social impact? What was your turning point? When did you see your North Star, and when did you decide, hey, I'm going to shine my light and share my voice and be the change? So tell us a little bit about that.
What made me want to shine my light was, and this reflects back to the last question, was when I realized that the burden was, I had a certain amount of responsibility to be as um, mature, be as upfront, be as responsible for my own behavior as I could. But society has their share of responsibility for the fact that the society is structured to stigmatize people with disabilities and make it okay that we are that we are dependent, that and it makes it not okay that we are seeking independence, seeking wealth, seeking opportunity, seeking all of these things, seeking equal justice. And that's where I get fired up.
Right.
Okay. When I'm trying to push the envelope and I'm trying to make my life better, and I come across these systemic barriers that say you're not disabled enough to apply for social assistance or whatever. You're not disabled enough to be disabled.
Wow.
Which is actually fine, but you're too disabled to be normal. And so I'm I'm not allowed to be on social assistance, but I'm not allowed to have a normal job. Well, where does that leave me? That leaves me stuck. And
Right.
that's where people are. People are stuck because the system is the system makes people fit into boxes. And that's what needs to change. And what I'm seeing, and it's tragic, is people are comfortable in their little boxes. People get comfortable in their little boxes. I once, not too long ago, was talking to somebody in the entrepreneurial realm, and he was saying that he had conversations with people just like me who were who had been living on social assistance and were transitioning into entrepreneurialism. And they didn't want, he was trying to encourage them that they could make a lot more money as an entrepreneur. And they really, really didn't want to go that route because they were assured that they could, their little bit of money every month, and we're talking a couple $100 every month, was assured. And they didn't want to risk a couple $100 a month for the chance of a couple 100,000 down the road, because that's a big risk. And society has us conditioned that it's going to take too much work, and we're not going to succeed, and we're not right for entrepreneurialism, and there's no way we're going to make it, and we might as well just be happy with what's provided for us. And I'm sick and tired of it. The system needs to change so that people can live their best life.
Right.
And it needs to change. And it comes back to what I'm doing right now with bullying. If a child can learn how to can learn how to address bullying at the age of 4 and 5, that same child can learn how to recognize a bully,
right,
of the state at the age of 30 and 40 and learn how to advocate for themselves at the age of 30 and 40. That's my long game.
Mm-hmm.
Teach a child young, and they will grow up to be strong, independent people who won't put up with the crap that I'm having to put up with, won't have to struggle like I'm having to struggle.
Right.
And my North Star is that I dream of the day when all people of all abilities will be able to set their own agendas and reach their own ambitions, and will be surrounded by communities of support, and will have the resources to actually execute their dreams and see them realized.
Absolutely. Wow. Wow.
That's what
I
that's
am
what
with you on that dream.
that's what I really want, and I want to see it within my lifetime.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, you know, you've also mentioned in your book about, you're right now working with, wanting to work with, or you're already working with parents with who have children with disabilities. What
Mhm.
would be some advice that you would have for that?
3 pieces of advice. Um, watch for changes in behavior that your child exhibits. Love them as much as you can. Actually, I've got 5. Structure. Provide structure from day one. Don't coddle. Provide structure. And require your children to develop habits and routines early on in life,
Right.
and make a big fuss over anything they actually do accomplish. And lastly, monitor the amount of time they spend on the TV, because that's huge. Kids who spend more than an hour watching TV, it's been statistically proven, end up becoming the victims of bullying and abuse, because they become desensitized
Right.
to the violence. There's too much violence on TV, and kids just absorb. They're like sponges. They absorb what's on the TV. They don't process the meaning behind it. So really limit that.
All right. Well, thank you for sharing that. And I appreciate you hopping on despite the glitches,
I'm so sorry about the glitches.
and making the effort of sharing your voice and being a stand and advocate for people who have been suffering because of other people's perspectives on disability. And I'd like to end with a quote that you put in your book by Wes Angelosi, and it says, "Go and love someone exactly as they are, and then watch how quickly they transform into the greatest, truest versions of themselves. When one feels seen and appreciated in their own essence, one is instantly empowered."
That's one of my favorite quotes.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
I'd like your audience to know that I'm coming out with a new program
Right.
for any parents that are struggling to empower their children, especially their children who are autistic, neurodiverse, so have ADD, ADHD, autism, anything like that. I'm developing programs to help you. So you can contact me at tara@accessempowerment.ca, and I'll respond to you. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Instagram. My handle is Access Tara.
Right.
You can find me just about everywhere.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And your book is available on Amazon?
My book is available on Amazon currently. Yep. And I'm coming out with a new one. I'm writing it right now. So.
And I will be tagging you on this live as soon as it's done, so that people can reach out to you and get the support they need to get. Well, thank you so much, Tara, for sharing your Sunday morning with us. And thank you to all the people who are listening, who are watching. And I've had messages from people on WhatsApp messaging me,
oh, nice.
Fix the glitch, so that, they really wanted to hear you share your story. So thank you very much. Thank you for spending your Sunday morning with us. I will be back again next Sunday with another powerful human being that is making a huge difference in the world. Tara, we love you, we adore you, and thank you for giving us your time. Say hello to your wonderful husband. He is such a role model, and it's so lovely to know that there are such lovely people in this world. The two of you together give us hope. You inspire us, and you make this world a very beautiful place. Thank you, thank you, thank you,
Thank you so much, Sharon.
thank you, and we'll see you again. Bye.
See you. Bye bye.